Single female lead plus urban plus daily plus historical imagination plus decisive killing his doll's biological partner Lin Qingwan seems unusual. It is already extremely proud and mysterious. Lin Qingwan doesn't seem easyA lively and mysterious maid beside me a hidden and cold like snow. What should Jiang Han and the proud Lin Qingwan go through to get together? The world is not simple. Is it true that ancient people who can be famous for ancient history only have the lifespan of mortals? King Zhou, Emperor Chen, Emperor Tang, Emperor Song, what are they actually fighting against? Where exactly did they go? The encounter with Qingwan, the story of one's background, and the layout behind it, is it an ordinary life or a magnificent life? The truth of the world is gradually revealed, and in order to not lose it again, invincibility is the only way. P.S. Added some historical insights and settings from the author. If there is any unreasonable impact on viewing, you can provide feedback. In the first few decades, there was a love affair between the female lead and the male lead. In the later stages of psychological changes, the female lead felt that the female lead was excellent and withdrew. The male lead always only placed the female lead in the position of his wife in his heart. Be cautious in entering. Chapter 1. Young Jiang Han, searching for Lin Qingwan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jinling City. The wind is sunny, and the sky is blue like a mirror, without any flaws. A passenger plane shattered this stunning scene. Many people came down one after another from above. How is your injury? A gentle female voice rang out. The girl who spoke was named Roa, wearing a loose white dress and a white top. She was no different from an ordinary woman, with a high ponytail hairstyle, picturesque eyebrows and eyes, cherry lips, and a very beautiful appearance. Following the flow of people on the plane, a young man and a young girl slowly descended. Just dropped the realm. The injury is still under control. The young man who spoke was called Jiang Han, dressed in a blue windbreaker, with black hair all over his head, red lips and white teeth, and a high nose bridge. Jiang Han was in the Northern Liang Army from a young age and grew up in the army. He was carefully taught by the previous Northern Liang Army commander Ning Fan, and had knowledge in martial arts, astronomy, and geography. Later, he entered the Kyoto University for many years of training, and his skills far surpassed those of his peers. At the age of 12, Jiang Han was worthy of a heavy responsibility. Due to the disappearance of Ning Fan, he was forced to succeed as the military leader. Faced with foreign countries, he did not fall behind. At the age of 15, he was appointed as the Prince of Zhenbei, the Prince of Beiliang, and the head of the army's top 100 generals, holding an extremely high position as a minister. Jiang Han is approaching the age of 18, and now he is returning to Jinling only to search for the mystery of his background, as well as to find his teacher Ning Fan, and to cultivate himself. During the cultivation process, the one in Tianshan taught him to personally experience the mundane affairs of the mortal world in order to have an epiphany, which is also the reason for his return to Jinling this time. Because before I was taken up the mountain, I had already arranged a doll marriage. If so, have you found it? It turned out that 18 years ago, when Jiang Han was still a baby in Jinling, he was left on the streets and adopted in a welfare home. Later, he was brought to the northern border. Jiang Han was still young at the time, and this time he went out of the northern border. It was also explained by his teacher Ning Fan to search for his background, as well as the matter of child marriage. Lord, your anxious appearance finally makes you look human-like. Roar covered her mouth and smiled. Lord, if we find out the owner of that welfare institution, who is currently the president of Jinling University, we can directly find it. Jinling does indeed have the Jinling Lin family, and finding that president may reveal more. If you speak seriously. Jiang Han coughed twice and looked at the place where he was first discovered, feeling a pang of pain in his heart. For many years, he felt deeply lonely. Even though his friends and teachers in Beiliang treated him well, his heart was still empty. This time, in order to cultivate the heart demon on the way, I should also fulfill my child's love, try to break the heart demon, and step into the mortal world. Perhaps as the one in Tianshan said, I need sweet love to save me. Jiang Han smiled at the thought of this. He slowly took out a sachet embroidered with Lin Qingwan, with a gentle expression on his face, and gently stroked the sachet with his other hand. There is also a light blue jade pendant next to it, but it seems to be missing half. Ning Fan told him that he found these two things in his swaddling clothes back then. Jiang Han looked at the items that had accompanied him for over a decade, with a hopeful expression on his face. With this in mind, he thought about going to Jinling University to see if he could find the president and determine the object of the doll's marriage. After all, it was highly likely that it was the doll's marriage that the grandfather had set for him back then. This time I came out not only for the sake of my background, but also for the sake of my teacher and the country's leader. Some people have been deceiving others. I took the resources above, but didn't make any breakthroughs. These things, naturally, Wang from my northern region will take them back with his own hands. In addition, teacher Ning Fan has been missing for many years, and Jiang Han is really worried. The two of them spoke slowly and walked out of the airport amidst the noisy crowd. There are gradually more people outside. There are many people wearing official uniforms waiting here, muttering something. Have you heard that the southern commander has received news that a big shot will arrive in Jinling today, and the boss has been waiting here for a long time? I heard that some big shot is low-key and doesn't take a special plane. They insist on taking a passenger plane to put on airs, which is really annoying and has caused us to wait hard. It's been a whole morning and I haven't seen anyone yet. What kind of outfit is it? I have something else to do. The crowd was filled with complaints, and the ordinary passengers who came down also looked at everything in front of them with strange faces. Chapter 2. Youth. Baby Kiss Girl and Two Maids. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The airport in Jinling is very large, and the passenger flow is still quite high even on weekdays. Most of them are tourists or business travelers. As one of the leading big cities in China, it is naturally noisy. Within the airport. Your Excellency is about to arrive in the afternoon. When will that person arrive? A senior Mediterranean official said. Yeah, it's really annoying. With so many people waiting, what kind of identity is he? Bold. Military officials did not get involved in it. In their hearts, the one who came was a myth of the military and military departments. Is the North Prince of our town someone who hides in the office and embezzles public funds like you can insult? Lin Chen, the commander of the Jinling military headquarters, said solemnly, very calm and unquestionable. You. Just as the person was about to retort. All right, everyone can hold on a bit longer. The next flight is coming soon, and the Southern Command has already received the news. Mayor Qin Huaiyu said. Every city in China is now divided into a military department and a political department, each performing its own duties. Jiang Han and Roa slowly came out and stayed for a while. Jiang Han carefully examined the sachet with the words Lin Qingwan on it, and suddenly, his consciousness seemed to be absorbed. In a hazy state. A blurry figure emerged, with long hair and a graceful figure. There were also these two little girls beside him, one sweet and the other cold, but very blurry. Jiang Han could only see roughly, and he was curious to see clearly. It seemed that he could still hear their conversation in the hazy. Miss, that doll loves the boy. I heard from the master that there is also Grandpa Shangwan who said he has been missing for a long time. The sound is crisp and pleasant, like a lark bird, lively and lively. The pink and blue figure in the middle seemed to be speaking, but Jiang Han couldn't hear any sound. Jiang Han tried hard to see the scene clearly. Suddenly, the screen shattered, and Jiang Han returned to reality with a headache. What's wrong with you, Lord? Jiang Han shook his head and said, It's okay. If you look ahead. Lord, you've already told me that you just need to lead me in. How come these people are pouring out their forces again? Every time they engage in such a big battle, they still act recklessly in private. If you clench your little pink fist and say with gritted teeth. Jiang Han shook his head and was about to step forward to speak, but unexpectedly, someone among the civil servants spoke first. Two little dolls, leave quickly. There's business here, leave quickly, don't linger. The tone was very impatient, and Jiang Han restrained himself from speaking. When he saw Lin Chen from the military headquarters, Lin Chen was about to speak when Jiang Han slightly raised his hand to stop him. Lin Chen smiled slightly and thought to himself, it seems that the higher-ups are no longer satisfied. If he comes, it will be their attitude. Don't leave quickly, don't you understand what you're saying? Various mockery echoed in the crowd. Jiang Han just glanced coldly at the crowd, ignoring the ridicule. It's really troublesome for a little kid to know something big. That's right, but the little girl next to him is so beautiful, why not wait a moment? Upon hearing these words, Jiang Han frowned slightly and stood at the end of the crowd with a figure that was about to leave. Unconsciously, half an hour has passed and the passengers on the next flight are also about to leave. Didn't you say it was coming soon? Isn't this flight supposed to come? Why such a big frame, who exactly is it? Qin Huaiyu couldn't help but frown and say, I'll ask the southern commander again. In no time, Qin Huaiyu received a reply, I have already disembarked from the plane. Qin Huaiyu paused for a moment and said, the commanding officer said that the person has already disembarked from the plane. I'm really impressed. Why don't you tell me when I get off the plane, where are the people? Did it make us wait for nothing? Everyone complained with a very strong temper, they already have a lot to do and are still waiting here. Qin Huaiyu couldn't help but ask, Commander, but we haven't seen him. On the other side of the phone, the commander smiled slightly with a hint of disgust and said, he's already among your crowd. Qin Huaiyu suddenly woke up and quickly searched for the young couple just now. Upon seeing this, Lin Chen also understood and shouted, all of the military headquarters, follow me to see His Highness the Prince of Northern Liang. After speaking, everyone at the military headquarters knelt down on one knee and shouted to the young man standing quietly at the end of the stream, belonging to Jinling, have you met His Highness the Prince of Northern Liang? The civil officials couldn't help but be stunned. King Bailiang, this is a big shot. Still a big shot. The person who had just discussed dealing with the girl next to Jiang Han in private suddenly became a bit panicked. North Liang King. Quiet for a few seconds, then someone exclaimed in shock. Yes. Is that the commander of the northern region? How could that be? How old is this child? Everyone spoke in unison. Qin Huaiyu quickly led the civil officials forward and knelt down on one knee, saying, we have seen it before, Your Highness the Prince of Liang. Please forgive me for my clumsiness and failure to recognize Your Highness. Jiang Han raised his hand slightly to signal everyone to stand up. Qin Huaiyu stood up and said, Your Highness, please. Qin Huaiyu approached and guided Jiang Han, saying. Jiang Han remained motionless, watching the crowd. Your Highness, there is still. Qin Huaiyu asked cautiously. Just now someone said, what do the girls around me want? Stand up and I'll just kill you and let your family go. Jiang Han said calmly. Everyone was surprised, this was too harsh. In just one sentence, did he have to redeem himself with death, or did he say there was no intention? Did he know the hall was unusually quiet, and after a while no one spoke? Only a gentle breeze brushed past, with Jiang Han's short hair brushing against his pure white face, fluttering with the wind. That's it, then I'll do it myself. Jiang Han's eyes closed, changing from black to white, and he grabbed the person who had just spoken in front of him. I don't. The person was choked, his body floating in the air, struggling desperately. Just now, when Jiang Han rolled away, none of the civil servants who mocked him dared to speak up again, not even daring to breathe. Jiang Han looked quietly at the person in his hand. The person being choked feels suffocated by the immense pressure. Yes. So what? He spoke hard and said, what can we do in a rule of law society now? Of course. He encountered Jiang Han. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Ah 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 ah. The whole room was silent, with no one speaking. Some of the civil servants couldn't even stand steadily and sat on the ground. The person caught in Jiang Han's hand slowly turned into flying ash, just like how fire burned paper, effortlessly disappearing in just 3 seconds. Jiang Han turned around and said, if you talk, Uncle Chen and Uncle Lin will follow me. The civil servants and others will kneel and listen to if you finish speaking. As the words fell, the dull civil officials and some people sitting paralyzed on the ground regained their senses, afraid that this person would burn them down. If given another chance, they would surely smile and say, please come here, sir. Chapter 3. Principal, message from Lin Qingwan. You are listening at novel full.audio. Jiang Han was in front, leading Lin Chen and Qin Huaiyu out of the airport. The previous passengers were at the end of the hall and could still see their figures, but they wouldn't know what was happening here. Your Highness, with your arrival, our Ministry of Education can finally be rectified. Qin Huaiyu trembled and said. Your Highness, Prince Liang, I heard from the commander of the southern region about your. Before Lin Chen could finish speaking, Jiang Han raised his hand to signal him. Qin Huaiyu looked at them and said nothing. Jiang Han slowed down his pace and pondered for a while before saying, Uncle Qin, could you please give me information about several major families in Jinling? Let's focus on the Jiang family in Jinling and the information about your city's welfare institution. Qin Huaiyu paused and then asked, Your Highness, the Northern Prince, what do you need to find, or rather your demands? I have already figured out the general situation very clearly in Jinling. Jiang Han's eyes lit up and he immediately asked, do you know the detailed information about the elderly in the welfare home 18 years ago? Qin Huaiyu stroked his chin as he walked and said, 18 years ago, there was a young man in Jinling who opened a welfare home. However, later on, the welfare home was actually destroyed. But at that time, no one found out who the culprit was. All he knew was that the director of the welfare home cried and fainted in the ruins. Jiang Han's expression was complex, and upon hearing such news, he felt uneasy. After a long pause, he looked at Qin Huaiyu and spoke again. So, does Jinling have a big family, the Lin family, or a girl named Lin Qingwan who is about the same age as me, who seems to be 2 years older than me? I don't know if there is a girl named Lin Qingwan in Jinling, but the Lin family in Jinling does. If His Highness the North Prince wants to visit, I will contact them immediately. After listening for a moment of contemplation, Jiang Han waved his hand and said slowly, don't contact me for now. I want to go find the whereabouts of the person who opened the welfare home first. Jiang Han turned around and walked outside the airport. Lin Chen immediately spoke up, Your Highness, where is your residence? Jiang Han continued walking outside and waved his hand, saying, don't worry, both of you. I'll arrange it myself. Let's each do their own job. I'll contact both of you if needed. Qin Huaiyu sighed and looked at the distant figure, feeling mixed. Perhaps he didn't leave a good impression in his heart today and had to live with his tail between his legs. In no time, if Ruo immediately follows up. Done with processing. Jiang Han looked at his phone and asked. Originally, Jiang Han killed him not for no reason, as most of these were corrupt individuals. Yes, military lord, don't look at it anymore. Let me drive and forget about this phone. If the corners of their mouths twitch, these heavenly army lords have phones and spend the whole day tinkering with things like WeChat and games. Oh my lord, let's go. I'm driving and watching Didi take a taxi. If you cover your mouth and smirk, then add, do you have money? Jiang Han was stunned and said, you have it. Jinling City is divided into several districts. If the industry in Jinling is located near the Qinhuai River in the city center, they will naturally settle there as well. In the car, Jiang Han looked out the window, lost in thought. The bustling scene and beautiful lighting made Jiang Han addicted to it. The military leader, let's rest tonight. Tomorrow, we'll go to the welfare home and the Jiang family for a visit. Jiang Han regained his senses and said, well, the news shouldn't have been released. With this, can we find any clues to the Jiang family? Jiang Han lowered his head and looked at the jade pendant tightly held in his hand, as well as a sachet embroidered with the words, Lin Qingwan. His heart began to look forward to it. Lin Qingwan must be the object of the doll's affection, and Jiang Han silently recited these 3 words in his heart. Chapter 4. Being hollowed out by beauty. You are listening at novel-full.audio. The two of them arrived at the villa area called Shanshui Jiayuan. If you confirm while searching for information. The community is very upscale, filled with magnificent decorated buildings. It is said that half of the nobles in Jinling City live here, and even at night, the magnificent lighting makes the surroundings feel like they are in the daytime. Lord, let's go. Do you see your living habits here? If the information is confirmed, turn around and follow behind Jiang Han, carefully inquire. Jiang Han didn't answer, just looked at Roa and continued to think about something. The two of them entered the gate, surrounded by small green vegetation and a narrow path leading to various estates. Each estate building was equipped with a large outdoor space with various equipment, which made Jiang Han carefully examine for a while. The two of them walked up to the first estate. It is said that the closer the estate is to the front, the greater its status. I don't know if this is the case here, but it is common in high-end residential areas around the world. Jiang Han looked at the 01 manor in front of him and looked at Roa, but did not speak. If you also seem to know Jiang Han's meaning and explain, Master, there's nothing we can do. This is what our family has arranged. Master, please make do with it. If Ruo Qiao's belt swayed Jiang Han's hand with a coquettish expression, 2 small dimples appeared on her face, making her look particularly beautiful and cute. Well, let's take a break earlier. Immediately, the two of them entered the estate, packed their things and prepared to rest. There was nothing to say overnight. It has to be said that under the influence of so much green vegetation in the morning, the air here is exceptionally fresh, which makes Jiang Han, who has always had the habit of waking up early and practicing martial arts, feel relieved. Who? Jiang Han closed his eyes and fixed his horse steps to recover and stand still. If you go downstairs and see an old and a young person practicing in the morning next door. Lord, are you going to visit the Jiang family today? Jiang Han looked at the 2 people practicing in the morning next door, thought for a moment, and then opened his eyes and said, let's take a trip. Then he turned around and entered the room, probably changing clothes. If he yawned loudly, he would have been ready long ago. Soon, Jiang Han came out and passed by the next door. Jiang Han only realized up close that their morning exercises were similar to the standards in the military, so he smiled and greeted the 2 people next door. The old man also nodded slightly. Young people, we should learn to be restrained and not let beauty empty our bodies. Puai Ruoruo covered his mouth and suppressed his laughter. Jiang Han was also taken aback when he heard this, and then turned around and smiled slightly, saying, you must be moderate, kid. Thank you, old man. The two of them walked through a narrow path, breathing fresh air, and arrived at the gate, where they got onto Roa's car. Jiang Han sat in the passenger seat, closing his eyes to rest his mind. If she looked at Jiang Han, only she knew that Jiang Han had not been emptied by beauty, but had been seriously injured. Let's talk about the situation of the Jiang family. Jiang Han closed his eyes, with no expression on his face, and spoke. Jiang family, the current head of the family is Jiang Ling, and his strength is the pinnacle of his master. The manufacturing and industrial industries below are spread throughout Jinling, and his strength is very strong. I don't know how the military leader will investigate this time. Jiang Han didn't speak and shook his head slightly. He didn't know how to investigate. The only clue in his hand was a jade pendant, and there was a poem beside him that year that read, "In the late reign of Xiao, there is a gradually cold river in the south." So the person at the welfare home named him Jiang Han. Thinking of this, Jiang Han felt helpless, even his own name came from this, how to find his family. Chapter 5. Jinling Jiang Family, Lin Chen. Father. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Jinling City, there is an extremely powerful family with industries spread throughout Jinling. Just the extremely large mansion can fully demonstrate the strength of the Jiang family. The plaque on the Chinese-style gate reads, Jiang Mansion, with 2 stone lions located on either side. Inside, there are 3 major courtyards. Residential courtyard, council hall, and ancestral hall. Conservatively, the space inside can accommodate hundreds of people. The morning light reflects on this ancient mansion, appearing mysterious and desirable. Lord, yesterday I contacted the Jiang family. As a member of my family, today is just a casual conversation. Lord, let's see what we can talk about. If Ruo opened the car door for Jiang Han while speaking, Jiang Han would get off the car and take a look at the Jiang family courtyard, clutching the jade pendant tightly in his hand. The butler at the door immediately stepped forward and said, "Are you Miss Ruo?" If he nodded, the butler immediately glanced at Jiang Han and led the two into the mansion. The rockery in the mansion is surrounded by a pond, with many pavilions and lawns. A few adults and children scattered in the lawn pavilions, some exercising in the morning and some playing, all in laughter and joy. Jiang Han's eyes moved slightly as he watched this scene. The 3 of them walked through the long corridor and arrived at the conference hall. "2 of you, our homeowner is waiting for you inside. You can enter on your own, please." The butler smiled and half bowed, making a gesture of invitation. The conference hall is very large, all of which are made of Nanma utensils, and the placement of these jade objects looks extremely beautiful. Several Nanma chairs are scattered on both sides, and there are several young and middle-aged people sitting on either side, probably the high-level members of the Jiang family. In the middle is the main seat, with a middle-aged man on the main seat, a middle-aged man, dressed in a gray robe, with an ancient and simple face, sword eyebrows and starry eyes, not angry but majestic, sat upright and surveyed Jiang Han and Ruo. "Miss Ruo, please take a seat." The dignified voice of the middle-aged man rang out. If Ruo looked at Jiang Han and was ready to speak, Jiang Han just shook his head, but Ruo didn't say much. "If Miss comes to Jinling for any reason, my Jiang family will naturally take care of you first." Speaking, the servant brought a lot of delicacies. "Master Jiang, you're welcome. Today, I'm just here to learn about the Jiang family's events 18 years ago. If a pretty face floats with a smile. If Miss Ruo wants to know something." The middle-aged man took a sip of wine and took a bite of meat, slowly speaking. Regarding whether someone gave birth to offspring in the Jiang family 18 years ago, or whether there were any personnel changes. Jiang Han looked at the middle-aged man, looking forward to something. "This seems to." The middle-aged man raised his hand and tapped his head, pondering. The young man on the other side spoke up first. "If Miss Ruo comes to our Jiang family for the first time with this unidentified young man, asking about the private affairs of our clan 18 years ago, is it a bit inappropriate?" "Brother, you're being serious." "It's just that my subordinate's surname is Jiang, and the matter of his background 18 years ago is in Jinling, so I'm here to disturb the Jiang family." Ruo smiled and said. Everyone was stunned. 18 years ago, no one in our tribe gave birth to any offspring, and there were no personnel changes. Jiang Han's pupils were dim, he lowered his head and remained silent. If immediately said, Master Jiang, you can also take a look at the jade pendant here. After speaking, please have someone take the jade pendant and give it to Jiangling. Jiangling fixed her gaze and said, This is his younger brother. How could Jiang Chen's jade pendant appear here? But his younger brother disappeared 20 years ago and there is no news so far. At that time, his younger brother, a powerful king, was present. The Jiang family was preparing to move towards Kyoto, but his younger brother's whereabouts are still unknown because he helped his younger siblings search for medicinal herbs. However, the time of this young man does not match that of his younger brother Jiang Chen. Jiangling decided not to disclose it for now. I don't think my Jiang family knows this jade pendant. Jiangling said slowly. If there is a gleam in my eyes, I want to speak but still hold back. Jiang Han remained silent, and then the two chatted casually for a while. Ruo then took Jiang Han away. Chapter 6. Qin family elderly, Jiang family's thoughts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them walked through the long corridor and left the Jiang family. Jiang Han felt a bit lost and his eyes were dim. If he looked at Jiang Han with heartache, he wouldn't speak. The two got into the car and were ready to continue searching for clues. Suddenly, Ruo's watch lit up. After reading it, Ruo immediately reminded Jiang Han, Lord, there is a business association in Jinling today. You can go there to meet some nobles, inquire from the side, and expand the Lord's influence in Jinling. The power of the two is ultimately limited. Jiang Han's eyes lit up and he said, Go ahead. At this time, the Jiang family's mansion. Go keep an eye on those two people and report any information to me in a timely manner. Jiangling said anxiously. Big brother, what's wrong? Is there anything special between these two people? A young man said, his name is Zhou, and he is Jiangling's youngest brother. He has a relationship with Jiang Chen. That jade pendant belongs to Jiang Chen. Jiangling said bitterly. What? Meanwhile, a servant came to report. Master, it seems that the two of them want to attend the afternoon Chamber of Commerce. Okay, Jiang, please come with me, tidy up and leave this afternoon. Yes, big brother. The gentle breeze outside brushed over the pond of the Jiang family, causing ripples, and then the direction of the breeze was unknown. On the other side. The two of them returned to the villa and saw the old and young people next door still practicing in the morning. Jiang Han also approached with a smile to say hello, while the old man was punching. Jiang Han fixed his gaze and immediately his eyes lit up. He must be a member of the military, and his fighting style was originated from his Northern Young Army, but this old man's fighting style has not been improved. The kid has seen the old man before. Hello. The old man looked at Jiang Han and smiled in response. Jiang Han thought for a moment and asked, Old man, are you fighting martial arts? The old man immediately looked straight at Jiang Han and said, Is it true that young people are also members of the military? The old man took 2 steps forward and carefully scrutinized Jiang Han. Jiang Han smiled and nodded. Be good, be young, serve the country, and have your own industry. Be one of the best in the world. The old man nodded with a smile and looked at his immature daughter, sighing. Jiang Han politely and humbly said, Old man, your martial arts have not been improved and will cause hidden injuries to the body. Let's see my martial arts. The old man nodded slowly and stared intently at Jiang Han. Just as Jiang Han was preparing to start, the girl next to the old man spoke up. How did you know that Grandpa's martial arts were wrong? Did you know again? Jiang Han fixed his gaze on the girl, dressed in a tight-fitting martial arts suit, with a curvaceous figure, bright eyes and white teeth, a cold and beautiful figure, tall and slender, with black ponytails, gracefully dancing in the morning light. She was frowning as she looked at Jiang Han. Just wait and see our army. The young master of the family will show off. If Ruo frowned and responded in a deep voice, his deep eyes would look at the girl. Swear, don't be impolite. Just show off, little friend. The old man glared at his granddaughter. Che, maybe it's just a scammer who bluffs and deceives. The girl muttered with her hands on her hips. Jiang Han ignored it and put on his posture, unleashing a powerful fist technique. It looks no different from the fist technique of the old man, but in reality, the direction of arousing body qi and blood is in the opposite direction. The old man touched his forehead and asked suspiciously, I still don't quite understand. Jiang Han withdrew his posture. The strong wind around swept through the plants, causing them to squeak and sway slightly. Jiang Han slowed down and then explained, a few years ago, the Northern Liang battle fist was a technique that focused on the body and external attacks on the enemy. Although this move can increase its power, it can also cause irreversible hidden damage to oneself. After being improved by His Highness the Prince of Liang, it was changed to focus on the body, attack the enemy by 7 points, and retain 3 points. After pondering for a while, the old man immediately exclaimed, Good. Good, the young man actually knows His Highness the Prince of Liang. He is a myth of our country, and I believe the young man must be a member of the Northern Liang army. Jiang Han thought for a moment and smiled, I'm just a retired soldier who served in the Beiliang army for 3 years. If Ruo pouted and said, Great scammer. The entire Northern Liang army belongs to you. The old man nodded slightly, a smile filling his cheeks, and something came to his mind randomly. The old man immediately looked at his daughter and said, Qin Shui, apologize to the little brother for colliding with her. No, humph. The girl still has her waist crossed. The old man put away his smile and said solemnly, You're reckless. You're a member of the Northern Liang army, teaching grandpa the new battle fist. And if you collided with him, you naturally have to apologize. The old man turned around when he saw his granddaughter still unmoved and said, I, Qin Zhan, can come to the Qin family to find me for anything in the future. This is my granddaughter Qin Shui, the daughter of Mayor Qin Huayu. Chapter 7. No 3 No 4 People. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The scorching noon sun shines on various estates, making the already luxurious ones shine brightly. Jiang Han bid farewell to Qin Zhan, but did not mind Qin Shui's confrontation. He returned to his room to prepare for the Chamber of Commerce. Lord, it seems that several aristocratic families from various sects will participate in this Chamber of Commerce. Oh. Jiang Han looked at Ruo. They came out this time not only about their background, but also about the affairs of various aristocratic families and aristocrats, which happened to be a good opportunity to gather their own forces, conduct further investigations, and also shuffle the layout of Jinling. This is a win-win situation, which caught Jiang Han's interest. If the crisp sound reports the news of the aristocratic family, Jinling Shangguan family, Jinling Nangong family, Jinling Ouyang family, Jinling Chen family. Jiang Han moved his lips slightly, silently reciting these names, with sharp eyes and a cold smile on his face. A gentle breeze blew outside the estate, and fallen leaves fluttered in all directions, seemingly responding to Jiang Han. In no time, time was running out, and the two of them arrived at the place where the Chamber of Commerce was held, the Jinling Hotel. This is the largest business hotel in Jinling, where most of the events and guest gatherings are held. Additionally, this is also the industry of the Qin family in Jinling. The two of them arrived downstairs at the Jinling Grand Hotel, which is estimated to have over 100 floors. The towering buildings exude a sense of oppression, surrounded by luxury cars and scattered with young people in various suits and shoes. Jiang Han and Ruo are quite strangers, and many people are also looking at this place. Of course, they are not looking at Jiang Han, but at the stunning girl next to him. Ruo, with a white long skirt and a gray top, looks gentle and charming. Her pretty face smiles, and the dimples on her face tug at the hearts of the men around her. After only a while, many young people approached and were rejected by Ruo with a smile. Everyone looked at Jiang Han, who was greeted by Ruo's smiling face, gritting their teeth. The beautiful woman was standing beside her with a stern face, pretending nothing. In no time, a butler came out and said, "It's almost time, all the distinguished guests can enter now." After hearing this, everyone present rushed into the hotel. A young man said something to the person at the door and looked at Jiang Han before entering. Jiang Han sensed the person's gaze and did not respond or pay attention. Just as they were about to enter. "Does this young master have an invitation letter?" The butler at the door smiled and said. Jiang Han looked at the person at the door and shook his head slightly. The butler immediately sneered and said, "Since there isn't one, then this lady can only go in alone, and you can't go in." If you also put away your smile and looked at the person after listening, "Why, I don't have an invitation letter either." It seems that the notice from the Chamber of Commerce doesn't include this, does it? "Miss, it's like this. Our master strictly prohibits some unscrupulous people from infiltrating the Chamber of Commerce." The person looked at Jiang Han with a smile on his face and said, "No 3 no 4, and even looked at Jiang Han. "If Ruo is also angry, who are you saying is no 3 no 4? There were also people around who stopped to watch the excitement. How could this gentle and charming little girl follow a promiscuous young man? Alas, this stunning person has been ruined. What a despicable thing. A fresh flower planted on cow dung. Come and follow me, beautiful lady." The crowd gathered around Jiang Han and Ruo, talking, while some greedily looked at Ruo and foolishly said unclean words. Jiang Han also looked at the figures who spoke with a cold face and a slight sidelong gaze, his eyes like an ancient demon god, extremely terrifying. Several young people who were being watched immediately entered the hotel. Jiang Han is not in a hurry. These people will be sorted out together later, so there is no hurry to show their strength. If she didn't care about that, what she cared about was that her own military leader had never been said to be like this. Jiang Han's temperament is not at all compatible with no 3 no 4. This is clearly targeted. Just when you are ready to take action, if you are ready to take action. What's going on over there? Why don't you let this little brother go up? Everyone followed the sound and saw Qin Zhan and Qin Shui. The old and the young walked slowly. Qin Zhan smiled and asked, "Little brother, it's actually you. Why did he stop you?" Qin Zhan said, his gaze fixed on the butler at the door. The person at the door was sweating profusely, stuttering and preparing to speak. "Let's go, I'll take you up there, get out of the way." Qin Shui took a step forward, causing the person to step back, and then led Ruo and Jiang Han into the Grand Hotel. Everyone saw that this matter had come to a temporary end and slowly entered the hotel. There was no more excitement to watch, so it was natural to leave. Outside the hotel. "Why did you stop him?" The butler was trembling and deeply regretful, unsure how to speak. "Forget it, go to the finance department to collect your salary and leave." After Qin Zhan finished speaking seriously, he followed up. Only the stagnant butler remained in place. The man at the door had a dull expression, sat slumped on the ground, his eyes hopeless and empty, without a trace of expression. This job was his own destiny. He actually knows the chairman of the Qin family. If he had known this, he wouldn't have dared to stop him even if he had given him 100 courage. Now, even if he regrets it, it's too late. Chapter 8. Jinling Chamber of Commerce. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 4 people walked in the lobby of Jinling Hotel. The grand decoration of the lobby is adorned with service personnel filling the entire area. All staff members are guiding the direction of the family or nobility in front of them. There are still many people in the elevator area at the end of the lobby, chatting and laughing while waiting for the elevator. 4 people walking together. If we were to chat with Qin Shui, many people would greet Qin Zhan with great respect and look at Jiang Han. After previous interactions, Qingwan learned that Jiang Han was low-key and immediately turned around, saying, "Little brother, I'll go up first, so I won't disturb you too." After Qingwan finished speaking, he handed over a business card and said, "If you have anything to do, just contact me." "Let's go, Xiaoxue." Qingwan's aged figure and Qin Shui's beautiful figure slowly walked away. If Ruo smiled and waved his hand to bid farewell to the grandfather and grandson. "Let's go, Lord. Let's go up and take a look." Jiang Han nodded and the two walked towards the elevator area. The younger sisters around also saw their chairman politely talking to the two of them. Immediately, enthusiastically approach and greet, "Two of you who are attending the Chamber of Commerce, go to the elevator and wait, then go to the 88th floor." The two nodded as a sign. In no time, the two of them followed the crowd into the elevator and arrived at the 88th floor. As you exit the elevator, what catches your eye is the three-story duplex decoration. The magnificent hall is illuminated with warm golden lights, and many people have already taken seats in the hall. There are also many people on the second and third floors. The Jiang family also saw Jiang Han and Ruoruo, and they greeted Ruoruo before going up. Because the two were new to each other, they could only sit on the first floor. The process of the Chamber of Commerce is to announce the next development direction, followed by an auction, and finally the song and dance relaxation section. The lights turned to the stage, and Qin Huaiyu slowly walked onto the central stage, speaking loudly. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jinling Chamber of Commerce. I am Qin Huaiyu from the Qin family. This time, the Chamber of Commerce." Then there were some polite words and explanations of the development situation and goals, during which many people came to approach Ruoruo, making her feel helpless. In no time, those polite words are the end and the next step begins. Here's the auction session. Qin Huaiyu stepped down and Qin Shui stepped on. Qin Shui, dressed in a white formal dress and a long skirt, slowly walked onto the stage, and everyone cheered for this stunning young girl. Qin Shui is hosting this auction. After a few minutes of polite conversation, we finally arrived at the auction stage. First item. 1 Nanhai Nightglow Pearl. Starting price of 100,000. Each additional price must not be less than 5,000 yuan. Jiang Han's eyes narrowed slightly, and he lazily looked at Ruoruo with one hand propped up his head. Then he sneered, "The Shengguan family, the Nangong family, the Ouyang family, the Chen family, grab whatever you want." If I instantly understood Jiang Han's meaning. Immediately perk up and look at the stage with disgust. Just as the high-ranking official was about to take this luminous pearl for 500,000 yuan, a sweet voice sounded, 1.1 million. The whole room fell silent for a while. This. Double the price directly. This is an official move. This price increase is not about grabbing the auction, but about slapping the official's face. This kid, this girl, isn't she the stunning beauty downstairs? Why are you still seeking your own death? Sigh. The crowd was discussing with sighs, and the atmosphere was somewhat awkward. The members of the Shengguan family turned their heads and immediately waved their hands, giving up the competition. Qin Shui looked at Ruoruo with concern and then said in a crisp voice, "Congratulations, Miss Ruoruo, on taking this item. This girl, isn't that too good?" A middle-aged man from the Shengguan family, with a wrinkled face and dressed in martial arts attire, stood up and pointed his withered fingers at Ruoruo. "Grandpa, it seems like my ability to have the money to take this item. It's your incompetence to not have the money to take these items, isn't it? If you're angry, you're just taking back the higher prices on these items, instead of pointing at me, a delicate and beautiful girl, and shouting." If he flicked his hair, he would stare expressionlessly at the old man and say. The whole room fell silent once again. The smell of gunpowder is strong. Hiss. How did this girl come from? How dare she speak to the high-ranking officials? Yeah, that's Shangguanyu, the strongest member of the Shangguan family. He's a master realm powerhouse. I estimate the cost will not be small. The crowd began to discuss quietly again, some regretfully about Roa's beauty, while others discussed Roa's background. Someone from the Shangguan family stood up and questioned, "Why did you target me from the Shangguan family? I hope the girl can inform me." If he didn't pay attention, he would sit down on his own and share these photos with Jiang Han. The young man from the Shangguan family also had a fierce look in his eyes and immediately sat down. The next few items, as long as they are taken by the four nobles, will all be snatched and won at double the price. There is a lot priced at 50 million yuan, and if you directly quote 100 million yuan to win, it will leave everyone stunned. Of course, people from the four major families also looked at her with some anger, which was clearly aimed at them. However, they didn't know what the girl's background was, so they could only endure it for a while. The Jiang family looked at Roa and Jiang Han with a puzzled expression. In the targeting of Roa, the auction was also over, and the four major families did not receive anything at all. In the singing and dancing segment, the four major families finally made a move. In the singing and dancing segment, everyone can invite their favorite opposite sex to dance with everyone on stage to celebrate the successful end of the Chamber of Commerce. Well, the Chamber of Commerce almost got into a fight this time. Each of the four major families sent a young man to invite Roa to dance together. "Miss, could you dance with us?" The young man led by him was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, with a handsome face and a smile. He had a tall figure of 1.8 meters and looked at Roa with a smile, but did not glance at Jiang Han. "Okay, brother, you're so handsome. If you pretend to stand up and follow them towards the stage." Jiang Han took a sip of tea and shook his head. "If I were to follow a few people on the way to the central stage, the young man next to me would say, 'No matter how you target my four major families, today, wait to die.' Hee, brother, don't scare the little girl. I'm very scared." If the voice trembles and says. A few people immediately squeezed into the crowd on stage. Chapter 9. Hidden Clash, Jiang Han's Attack. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the magnificent hall, everyone danced happily to the dance music. "Humph, insulting my four major families, you will undoubtedly die in Jinling." The young man who had previously invited Roa on stage was named Shangguanxi, and under the cover of everyone on stage, he instantly took action against Roa. Among the dancing crowd on stage, there were actually a few people gathered around to look at Roa. "My brothers bullied a little girl together. Woo. If he pretended to cover his face and cry, then he would smile slightly at the corner of his mouth, his figure flicker, and slap the person closest to him. Bang! With a muffled sound, the person stepped back a few steps and stepped off the stage, as there were other people on stage, so they could only suppress the movement. Because martial artists have an unwritten rule. Try not to show your strength in front of ordinary people. So even a few people dare not give their all. One person retreated, and then a few immediately bullied themselves and climbed up. If they were to walk among the crowd in a weak and boneless posture, every twist would shake someone off the stage. But there are always people who are shaken out, so someone complains, "Don't come up if you don't want to. It's annoying to keep squeezing around." I don't know if it's because I've been unable to win over a woman, which has made everyone on stage besieging Roa angry, or something else. Suddenly, someone, with an explosive momentum, shook everyone on stage back and directly attacked Roa with all their might. The ordinary person who came off the stage looked bewildered as the two figures clashed in their original place, retreating in fear and staring fixedly at the stage. Is this making a movie? There are many questions in the crowd who do not understand this phenomenon. On stage. If you sneer, jump up, and slap the person's fist. Boom. The terrifying atmosphere swept through the hall, attracting everyone to the fight. Ordinary people who are close to the stage have to stay further away and run further away. They just want to stay away from this damn stage and the few people fighting on it. Qin Zhan also looked surprised at the scene on the third floor, marveling at the girl's strength. If one palm shakes away the young man in front of him, then another palm hits the young man's chest. Saying it's late is fast. At the same time, the young man from the Chen family, named Chen Feng, jumped up from behind Roa and punched him hard. If you are tired of dealing with it, when the old force has just passed and the new force has not yet emerged, you hastily respond and be hit by a punch towards the ground. If you hit the table and chairs below from the sky, then you can stabilize your body. Everyone exclaimed in surprise that the girl was probably going to perish. At the same time, an old man on the second floor flew up and pressed down with his palm towards Roa guy. That's it, this girl probably confessed that the head of the Yang family took action. He is the closest man to the king level. Unfortunately, this gentle and beautiful girl is as gentle as jade. Look, the boy next to her has also taken action. Upon seeing this, Jiang Han also flew up, his eyes turning with a bright blue light, and he punched the old man. Boom! After a huge wave of air, the old man retreated abruptly. Without waiting for a reaction, Jiang Han punched him again, imprinting it on his chest. With his fist force, the old man smashed it onto the wall on the second floor, and a huge punch mark appeared on the wall. Hiss! How could this young man's strength be so powerful? At the peak of the Grandmaster's realm, surprisingly, none of them were his enemies with just one punch. Qin Zhan on the third floor, Qin Shui, and the Jiang family on the second floor were all shocked to see this scene. Grandpa, it seems you're right. Qin Zhan looked at Jiang Han on the first floor with a complex expression. Who are you two? They are targeting my 4 major families everywhere. This is my Jinling Chamber of Commerce, not the place where you two cause trouble. The head of the Shengguan family also spoke up. Jiang Han walked up to Roa and looked at him with a questioning gaze. Roa shook his head and stood up behind Jiang Han. I heard that the 4 major families have collected resources from above and vowed to break through the realm last year, rushing there. Why hasn't there been any action yet? Jiang Han watched as the old man who spoke scanned the people around him and spoke softly, but his voice reached everyone's ears. Chapter 10. Overpowering the entire audience and shocking 4 people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the magnificent hall, ordinary people see such things as dramas. Only the 4 major families and their affiliated families were extremely shocked. Who is he, actually knows these things, let alone such a powerful person who comes to Jinling. If he intends to compete, Jinling's interests will inevitably be divided up again. Shengguan Shi looked at his own head with a questioning expression, and he stood up and immediately said, Young man, no matter how much you know about these things, I can't keep you today. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere at the scene was tense and tense. Just as Shengguan Yu was about to take action, Qin Zhan spoke up, Wait a moment, everyone. There is something I want to tell you all. This young friend is a friend of my Qin family, and besides, this young friend comes from the Northern Liang army. You must have a clear idea of who is standing behind the Northern Liang army. Everyone's faces are changing, the Northern Liang army. Does this kid actually come from the Northern Liang army? The Northern Liang army. That one, but the leader of the Northern Liang army, comes from the Northern Liang army. Everyone was also somewhat surprised. The Northern Liang army, a few years ago, invaded the northern territory of the 8 kingdoms alone, causing the lords of the 8 kingdoms to bow down and pay tribute every year. Upon hearing this, the head of the Shengguan family frowned and looked at Qin Zhan with a burning gaze, coldly saying, Qin Zhan, you are a civil servant family from Jinling. Are you willing to take responsibility for this? Qin Zhan nodded slightly and looked at Jiang Han again, responding to his gaze with a smile. Jiang Han couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart. Today, someone expressed their stance on his side. However, without him, there won't be too much trouble. There is still a powerful presence behind us. The head of Shangguan's family waved to signal Shangguanyu, then slowly sat down with no expression on his face. Young man, I'll accompany you through 2 moves. Shangguanyu nodded. He slowly fell and stood in the middle of the hall, his eyes bursting with a strong killing intent, and he said coldly. Jiang Han remained silent, his gaze still indifferent as he scanned the aristocrats present. A move. Defeating you with just 1 punch is enough. Jiang Han's eyes were sharp, and he looked at Shangguanyu. He said calmly, as if telling a story that had already happened. Shangguanyu's face was gloomy as he looked at Jiang Han and said in a voice, young people are really reckless. I have been famous in Jinling for a long time, and no one has ever spoken to me like this before. Shangguanyu was also a bit angry when Jiang Han looked down upon him. As a powerful veteran master, he had stepped into the realm of martial arts kings with 1 foot, yet he was so despised by a younger generation. This kid is really crazy. Yulao has been a famous powerhouse in Jinling for many years. This kid really doesn't know the limits of heaven and earth. Alas, being from the Northern Liang army is so arrogant, I really lose face with that person. Everyone also felt that Jiang Han's words were too reckless and did not hold any hope for him. Is this really the case? Jiang Han did not respond to Shangguanyu, just shook his head and immediately took action, shouting loudly, old man, take the move, see if I'm telling the truth or not. As Jiang Han's figure flickered, a huge punch formed and pressed towards Shangguanyu. Well done. There is no doubt that the momentum of the transformation of the virtual world is displayed. The transformation of the virtual world, also known as the transformation of the master, is the existence of the martial arts world. Shangguanyu didn't think that just a young boy could beat him. The head of the Yang family was much weaker than him, and as both masters of the realm, there was also a gap in strength. Shangguanyu stood still, without any action, just lightly slapped him up. If he saw it, he would just shake his head and say, another young military leader who underestimates the enemy is really seeking death. Over there, the two collided. Boom! The momentum of Master Huajing suddenly erupted, and everyone was swept by the waves, unable to see the center of the collision clearly. That kid is afraid his bones are gone, That's it, such a young boy. Some affiliated families of the high-ranking officials said that they could never imagine the next scene. A figure flew backwards and crashed onto the wall on the first floor, coughing up blood in large gulps and feeling lethargic. Everyone fixed their eyes on it. Sigh, it's actually the strongest member of the Shangguan family, Shangguanyu. How could that be so? Shangguanyu was taken aback by the fact that his master in the realm of transformation had come to an end. How could he not be the enemy of this young man's unity? Hiss. This kid. The crowd who just looked down on Jiang Han suddenly took a cold breath, so strong. Among the 4 major families in Jinling, the Shangguan family is the strongest, is that all? Jiang Han looked behind his back with one hand towards the 3rd floor, up to the official's position. Even in the Battle of Qin, I couldn't help but be shocked that the peak of the transformation realm was not the enemy of his unity. Qin Shui also opened her mouth wide in disbelief as she watched this scene. If you only send one person to take action, I'm afraid your transformation master will be completely damaged. Jiang Han looked at the crowd again and said. Everyone was startled again. He is provoking the 4 major families. Why is such talent so high? Profile. He may not be able to escape this time. On the other side. Bold. With a loud roar, an old man from the Ouyang family instantly landed, and the ground cracked open. The head of the Ouyang family immediately descended to the 1st floor, and several of them also came down together, glaring angrily. This kid is too reckless, and with some strength, he doesn't take them seriously. Young man, too arrogant. It seems that I need to take action once. A quaint sound echoed from the third floor. Jiang Han remained silent and waited quietly for the following text. On site, there was already an atmosphere of tension and tension. At this moment, everyone, it's time to end. A middle-aged man in military uniform, with a dignified face and a tall figure, slowly walked into the hall. Lin Chen, the leader of the Jinling military headquarters. Can you give me and Qin Lao a face and temporarily settle things down? The scene immediately quieted down. I don't know if Lin Chen's words were meant for Jiang Han or for the four major families. The leader of the military headquarters has arrived. Who exactly is this young man? Is he a high-ranking official of the Northern Liang Army? Can the high-level officials of the Northern Liang Army be like a little kid? Indeed, that's true. Let's go, let's go. This is no longer something that neutral families like us can intervene in. The crowd discussed and dispersed one after another. The people of the four major families remained silent for a while, seeing that the situation had risen to such a high level, let alone that they had indeed suffered losses in the hands of this young man. If the standoff continued, it was likely to force out the hidden strength of the four major families. At least on the surface, the peak of the transformation realm is already their strongest combat power. As long as he is still in Jinling, there are hidden means to target this kid. Seeing Lin Chen arrive, several of them also took advantage of the situation and let out a cold snort before going downstairs.